listening to part 2 of my interview with Claire about her fasting experiences. If you have not listened to part 1, I would recommend you do so. Link is in the description. Alright, let's go to the next question. In your case, is fasting more of a spiritual purpose or physical purpose for you?
So when I fast, I see it largely as a spiritual thing. I think if fasting becomes more physically motivated, then like just as like maybe it makes me think of intermittent fasting. That's a pretty big deal right now, and I've done that too. But fasting in the biblical sense is a spiritual thing. It's about getting closer to God. I had a time where my appetite was really low, and I actually realized in that time that I couldn't really food fast because I wouldn't realize that I was hungry until like 2 p.m. Like it just was less effective for me because my appetite was so low. So I really enjoyed, or I found more fruitful, were thing fast. Chocolate, well, that's a food, but it's a big part of my food pyramid. Social media, the phone in general, YouTube, video games, TV, those types of things.
Though I definitely want to say that I don't think it's not necessarily a bad thing to have those in your life, because some of us do find that rest.
Yeah.
In like watching a YouTube video or
definitely
playing a video game, winding down. Sometimes we get super hyper focused on God that we can't enjoy His creation and worship Him for it.
And that's, I think, something that is, because I mean, if you're fasting a bad thing, you should never stop because it's not good for you. But fasting is about giving up good things for better things. Even with food, like we need food. You can't give that up forever. That'll cause more problems. But you give up food for a day or a couple of days or even just a meal. And by doing that, you sacrifice something that is good for fellowship with God. So you can sacrifice something that is good for a time to get closer to God. Maybe you'll also realize in that those video games or that YouTube is my kryptonite, can be an idol for you, and you have to change your relationship with it. And I think that's one of the side effects of fasting, is it gets you away from good things to get you onto better things.
So one final question for this recording. Was there any time that you think you could not complete the set time frame that you have for yourself for your fasting? Or, well, if so, what helped you press on to the end to finish like that week of no social media?
Yeah, so I think I've definitely run into times where partway through I felt like I couldn't keep up with it. And I was realizing my advice for this, or what I do for myself, is very practical, like just changing scenery. Get out of the kitchen. If you're fasting food and you're hanging out with someone when they're making bacon, you're going to have trouble no matter who you are, unless you don't like bacon. It's going to be a tempting situation. So take yourself out of those. It's not about torturing yourself, but also going on a walk or just stopping and praying, because that's what you're supposed to be spending time doing. But something that is a problem for me when I fast is accidentally, like just truly accidentally eating or doing something that I'm not supposed to. Like I will wake up fully intending on fasting that day and eat breakfast. Just totally accidentally. I'll get a few bites in and be like, oh, I'm not supposed to be doing that. And I mean, you can kind of go based off of your conscience there. If it's in the beginning, maybe you want to wait till tomorrow or something. Or, I mean, I would say that you don't need to. It's not about what's in your stomach so much as what's in your heart. You don't have to. You don't say that the whole day of or the whole morning of fasting is wasted because you stole one of your sister's chips. Like that's I don't think that is. I think that might run into a little bit of legalism there. So keep going. If you accidentally break your fast, don't give up. Pick up where you left off. And if you feel really like giving in or like stopping, part of your consideration maybe should be what timeline did you set up for yourself when you start a fast? You need to know when it ends. Otherwise, the hungrier you get, the more you'll want it to end. You might start in the morning, but you need to know that you're stopping the next morning and you get to eat breakfast the next day, or you're stopping at 5 so you can eat dinner or something like that. And make sure those goals are realistic for your health, your age, your experience with fasting, what you have going on in that day. If you have to do a lot of physical work, maybe it's not the best day to fast. So just take those things into consideration and remember that God knows your heart. And don't be too hard on yourself, but know that you can persevere if you set realistic expectations for yourself.
All right, bonus question I'm going to throw on you.
Okay.
Even though it is basically a good part of a command in the Bible, you mentioned Matthew earlier saying, when,
Mm-hmm.
do you still recommend fasting? Should someone fast?
That is a good question. I think if you're talking about food fasts, I think your first consideration should probably be like your health and the physical expectations that are on you. If you're a high schooler on the track team, then that's consideration. Like what are the physical expectations for you? Because you don't want to run into health troubles. Food fasts are new to me because of my health, and I will only ever fast for a day because that's just what it fits within my health. But fasting in general, I'm repeating myself because I like what I said, of taking yourself away from something good and focusing on something better, I think is good, and I would recommend it. I would recommend that people try thinking about something that is heavy on their heart. Maybe it's their loneliness. Maybe it's the needs of their local church, or maybe they're just their brothers and sisters in Christ in the universal church, or maybe on the server, or something that is heavy on their heart, and bringing that before God and turning their this. I read this on Desiring God. I think that fasting is a physical exclamation point to our longing to get with God. It's just a way to really bear our hearts before God sacrificially. It's costly, but it is so profitable because you get that time with God and you deny your flesh and you see that God meets you there. And so if you can't do a food fast, then something that you really like, something you really enjoy, that it does benefit you, and take yourself away from that for the sake of getting with God. I've loved it, and I've been blessed by it, and I've seen that it's a powerful tool both for myself and for the things I get in prayer for. So I would recommend fasting. I think that it's a blessing.
As always, if you have an idea for the podcast, feel free to send Popsicle or Esk, that's me, a DM, and we can add it to the list. Thanks for listening to the Cleansing Our House podcast. May God bless your day.